Hello friends and welcome. Today, in this video, we'll explore how to overcome overcommitment by learning the power of saying no, guided by the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy. In our fast-pacing modern lives, many of us struggle with taking on too many tasks, obligations, and responsibilities. We overcommit our time and energy, often driven by societal pressures, fear of missing out, or an inability to set boundaries. This can lead to immense stress, burnout, and a poor quality of life. The ancient Stoics, those great thinkers from Greece and Rome, had much to say on this topic that still resonates today. They taught the importance of focusing solely on what is within our control, living with virtue and integrity, and cultivating self-discipline. This video will explore invaluable Stoic strategies to help you break free from the shackles of overcommitment. You'll learn to prioritize your obligations, align them with your core values, and confidently say no to excessive demands on your time and energy. We'll hear wisdom from Stoic masters like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius on separating the essential from the non-essential. Their teachings will guide us in living with greater intention, balance, and peace of mind. Stay tuned as we embark on this journey of Stoic self-empowerment. Even if the concepts initially seem challenging, I'm confident their simplicity and practicality will become evident through relatable examples. By the end, you'll possess powerful mental tools to reclaim your time, energy, and autonomy. Chapter 1. Understanding Overcommitment. To overcome something, we must first understand it. Let's start by examining what overcommitment looks like in our daily lives. Overcommitment refers to taking on more tasks, obligations, and responsibilities than we can reasonably manage within our available time and resources. It's when our plates become too full, leaving us spread thin and unable to give our best in any area of life. The signs are often clear. Constant feelings of being rushed, overwhelmed, or behind schedule. Neglecting self-care activities like exercise, quality sleep, and nutrition. Strained relationships due to a lack of presence. Increased stress, anxiety, and burnout. The Stoics warned against this unsustainable state, advocating for living simply and within one's means. As Seneca said, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" Practicing poverty reminded the Stoics of what truly mattered. Similarly, recognizing overcommitment reminds us that we cannot keep piling on obligations indefinitely without consequences. Our mental and physical health inevitably suffers, yet overcommitment persists as we chase an endless loop of productivity, people-pleasing, and fear of missing opportunities. We commit to too many work projects, family obligations, social engagements, and personal development pursuits in an attempt to have and do it all. The Stoics would urge us to pause, go inward, and reflect honestly on whether our outward commitments serve our highest good and values. Seneca cautioned, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." This awareness is the essential first step. Chapter 3. Prioritizing your commitments. The ability to communicate boundaries with loved ones is crucial. While we cannot control their expectations, we can guide conversations to respect mutual needs. The Stoic path does not question every commitment, but distinguishes what we embrace by choice in alignment with our core values and principles. This discernment, choosing what to actualize in reality rather than agonizing over ideals, leads to a liberated, empowered way of being. As Epictetus taught, the essence of philosophy lies in distinguishing what is ours from what isn't. Overcoming overcommitment begins by reclaiming ownership of what is ours to control. This dichotomy between what is up to us and what is not forms the bedrock of Stoic thinking. While we cannot control external events, we can control our internal responses and judgments about them. Our minds act as the subjective lens through which we interpret objective reality. Marcus Aurelius exemplified this perspective, writing, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." Two people can face the same event, a work setback, family conflict, or any external circumstance, yet their internal experience and ability to respond productively will differ based on their judgment of the situation. The person focused on factors outside their control, such as unfair criticism or a loved one's insensitive behavior, will be pulled into anxiety, anger, and victimhood. However, one who reorients toward their own actions and mindset remains grounded in personal agency and wisdom. By relinquishing the compulsion to control the uncontrollable, we free up immense mental and emotional bandwidth. Instead of flailing against currents stronger than ourselves, we focus on adjusting our sails to navigate the conditions before us. This path helps overcome overwhelm caused by overcommitment. Rather than lamenting the tasks piled on our plates or burning out trying to do the impossible, we can honestly assess our sphere of influence, subtracting everything beyond the scope of the essential. This brings clarity. Epictetus urged, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." With discernment over our actual zone of control, we can prioritize commitments effectively. We uphold chosen responsibilities that align with our core virtues and values while making peace with letting go of the rest. Obligations to employers can be negotiated through open dialogue about mutual interests. Promises to friends and family can be re-evaluated based on reasoned principles about what is genuinely healthy for those bonds. Even past commitments made in haste can be reconsidered with courage. The Stoics did not advocate flaking on responsibilities, but encouraged using rationality to determine what to take on. By shedding inessential burdens, we create space to give our full presence and excellence to remaining duties, for ourselves and others. There is immense liberation in no longer spreading oneself thin, but centering energy on manageable areas of direct influence. This intentionality nurtures our ability to make skilled, ethical choices, both in planning and amidst life's inevitable changes and curveballs. Ultimately, the Stoics viewed life as a series of temporary circumstances where we practice wisdom and virtue. While we cannot control whether circumstances align with our preferences, we can fully control our use of reason, courage, humanity, and self-discipline. With these tools, we gain immense power, not over the world, but over our own conduct and inner state. Reclaiming control within our sphere opens the path to overcoming the delirium of overcommitment. Chapter 4. The Power of Saying No. To honor our highest priority commitments, we must develop the fortitude to say no to the non-essentials that threaten to overload us. As Marcus Aurelius stated, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." The Stoics preached the virtue of acting with integrity, refusing to violate one's reasoned principles merely to please others or avoid discomfort. Overcommitting out of social pressure or fear of disappointing people is misaligned with this philosophy. When we say yes to commitments, mentally flagged as B's or C's, those lower priorities that don't serve our core values, we dilute the time and energy available for our A's, our highest callings. We diminish our power to lead an integrated, intentional life. Of course, saying no is extremely difficult, especially for people pleasers. It can feel rude, selfish, or like we're letting others down. Our instinct is often to avoid the temporary discomfort of that conversation. But the Stoics would advise doing the more challenging thing, being truthful about our limited capacity, setting proper expectations, and staying resolute in upholding our boundaries. As Epictetus taught, if you don't wish to be a miserable person, don't be a person of many pursuits. With practice, we can say no with empathy, tact, and confidence. We can acknowledge that preserving our ability to show up for life's essentials is better than overextending it. For instance, we might say, "I appreciate you considering me, but I must regretfully decline to preserve work-life balance." By shedding extraneous commitments that don't align with our values and priorities, we reclaim sovereignty over our most precious resources, our time, energy, and entire presence, for what truly matters. The power of no is the power to craft a life of focused excellence over frenetic mediocrity. Seneca said, "A great person is ever unhurried and composed. With discernment, we too can cultivate that centeredness." Saying no can be especially challenging when the request comes from a position of authority, such as a superior at work requesting we take on an additional project. The conditioning to obey can run deep. However, the Stoics would remind us that we are only truly free when governed by our own reasoned will rather than external pressures. As Epictetus declared, "No one is free who is not master of themselves." While prudence in communicating a no is wise, the Stoics saw compromising our core values out of deference as debasing our highest selves. They prioritized the sovereignty of the rational mind over pleasing or appeasing others' demands. Marcus Aurelius epitomized this self-possession, noting, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Let your ruling principle override all else." The Stoics worked vigilantly to clarify their ruling principles, their foundational beliefs, moral code, and personal mission. From this grounded place, they made decisions and set boundaries without excessive inner turmoil. They could say no to inappropriate requests with grace yet firmness. "I must decline, as devoting myself to that would prevent me from honoring other key obligations." No guilt, anger, or defensiveness is required. Furthermore, the Stoics highlighted how overtaxing ourselves rarely serves anyone's interests. Spreading frenetic, mediocre efforts over too many fronts diminishes our ability to excel at what matters most. Seneca warns, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere. By turning down superfluous commitments, we retain the presence to execute our highest priorities with mastery and excellence." This steadies our inner spirit, nurturing the consistent practice of virtue that the Stoics cherished. Saying no allows us to show up as our best selves for each chosen sphere of life, not haphazardly strewn about, but rooted and composed. The Stoics understood the importance of taking a long-term perspective. They realized that becoming overcommitted ultimately diminishes sustainable impact. Burnout, exhaustion, and deteriorating health from accommodating too many pursuits hinder our ability to give back meaningfully over a lifetime. The Stoics advocated pacing ourselves, intensely focused, but on an enduring path, fueled by self-discipline. While saying no can feel acutely uncomfortable in the moment, it serves our power for lasting contribution and serenity. It protects our ability to show up wholeheartedly for those people and pursuits most deserving of our finite energy and care. Ultimately, the brave skill of saying no comes from an unshakable understanding of our deepest selves. It takes profound self-awareness to distinguish the commitments that empower our essence from those that drain it. By honing this clarity through practices like journaling, meditation, and studying philosophy, we become adept at setting wise boundaries. We dismiss requests or opportunities that don't augment our virtues and cherished purposes with poise, compassion, and conviction. In doing so, we reclaim sovereignty over our precious time and focus on what resonates at our core. This allows us to course correct toward the centeredness and flourishing the Stoics revered. As Epictetus summarized, "No thing outward has any power entitled to overrule reason. Reason is the guiding principle." While saying no helps reduce excessive commitments, true sustainable change requires cultivating the virtue of self-discipline. As Epictetus stated, "No person is free who is not master of themselves." The Stoics saw undisciplined behavior, constantly giving in to momentary whims and impulses, as slavery to our base instincts. True freedom comes from consciously aligning actions with our highest reasoned principles and values. When it comes to overcommitment, a lack of self-discipline is often the root cause. We passively accumulate obligations, failing to filter or create structured systems to manage our time and energy. Distractions and shifting priorities lead to procrastination on essential tasks. However, by cultivating self-discipline as a habit, we can assertively control our schedules and commitments. We learn to evaluate each request thoughtfully before acceptance. Helpful techniques include time blooping your calendar for productivity, scheduling buffers between meetings to avoid back-to-back chaos, developing a morning routine to start each day intentionally, doing the hardest tasks first when energy is highest. As the ancient philosopher Musonius Rufus taught, practice perseverance daily. Begin by persevering in something small, and from there advance to greater labors. With diligent practice, managing overcommitment becomes almost automatic. We proactively uphold our priorities instead of reactively getting swept along by external demands. Ultimately, self-discipline liberates us to direct our finite time and effort towards our most significant life aims, uninhibited by trivial distractions. As Seneca proclaimed, to be able to enjoy one's past life is to live twice. Self-mastery ensures we live that worthy life the first time. Chapter 6. Reflection and Continuous Improvement. Combating overcommitment is a Stoic practice rooted in continuous self-reflection and improvement. As Socrates stated in a quote that greatly influenced Stoic thought, "The unexamined life is not worth living." The Stoics understood that our busy lives could easily devolve into mindless routines disconnected from our core intentions. We must pause to realign and ensure that our actions align with our values and principles. Without such moments of reflection, we risk losing touch with what truly matters. This is why techniques like nightly journaling, twice-yearly retreats, examining one's progress, and daily meditation were considered vital. These practices create space to assess whether our current commitments are worthwhile investments. For example, a weekly review might reveal a commitment, such as attending neighborhood association meetings, that feels obligatory but provides little fulfillment. This signals an opportunity to reevaluate and possibly discontinue it. Conversely, a personal goal, such as learning a new language, may have been neglected due to overwork. Intentional reflection reminds us to course correct and protect time for that commitment. The Stoics viewed life as a continual striving toward ideals while adapting to changing circumstances. Regularly revisiting how we allocate time and effort, coupled with courageous honesty about what must stay or go, prevents stagnation and the creep of overcommitment. Seneca wisely advised, "There is nothing the busy person is less in control of than their own life." Through diligent self-examination and realignment, we steer ourselves toward our highest aims. Overcoming overcommitment is an ongoing practice of distinguishing essentials, setting boundaries, and honoring our limited human capacities. This path ultimately leads to living coherently, and achieving our maximum potential in service of what matters most. Chapter 7. Conclusion. In this video, we've explored a range of influential Stoic philosophies and practices to overcome the modern affliction of overcommitment. We began by understanding what overcommitment looks and feels like, that constant state of being rushed, overwhelmed, and out of balance. The Stoics wisely warned that excessive busyness leads to burnout, strained relationships, and a life that is not fully lived. We then delved into the central Stoic principle of control, which involves identifying which commitments fall within our ability to manage and which are imposed by external forces. It's about focusing our energy where we can make a difference, rather than struggling against what we cannot change. Next, we explored ways to prioritize our highest value commitments, ensuring that our precious time and effort are devoted to advancing our most profound virtues and life philosophies. Tactics like the Eisenhower matrix and the ABC method provide frameworks for distinguishing between urgencies. Crucially, we embrace the courage to say no, refusing additional commitments that do not align with our rigorously defined priorities. While challenging, upholding this boundary honors our integrity and creates space to fully engage with what matters most. To make these efforts sustainable, we discussed the Stoic virtue of self-discipline. Developing habits and routines turns prioritization and boundary setting into nearly automatic practices. By doing so, we become conscious directors of our time rather than passive recipients of others' demands. Finally, we emphasized the importance of continuous self-reflection to identify misalignments and make necessary adjustments. An unexamined life of overcommitment drifts away from our highest values and callings. By embodying these Stoic teachings, we reclaim sovereignty over our life force, our limited time, energy, and attention. We overcome being overwhelmed, rediscover balance, and live with coherence as our highest, most authentic selves. I encourage you to start implementing these philosophies today. It may feel uncomfortable at first, growth often does, but trust that with diligent practice, the simplicity and power of the Stoic path will become apparent. Through lived experience, you will savor exquisite moments currently buried under commitment clutter. You'll experience a profound sense of ownership over your daily existence and, ultimately, direct your finite human life toward your biggest dreams and highest ideals. Please share your journey of applying this wisdom in the comments below. Let's create a community of accountability and mutual encouragement as modern Stoics overcoming overcommitment. If this message resonates with you, please like this video and subscribe for more philosophical perspectives on thriving amid our hectic modern world. I'll continue to bring lessons from the ancient Stoics and other wisdom traditions to light a brighter path forward.